Tell me everybody's fly. Today's spinning a set in my mind. Flashes fast, flashes cool, front slots, the bar, flashing all different. Stop. And stop. Good job. And stop.
Visa Sunset Mix on One World Radio. This is Purple Disco Machine. Oh my God. Mission, make my decision. There's no limit. Cause it's no business. God is no witness. Don't wanna finish. For me, no holder. Taking control of this kind of moment. Let's unload it. Completely focused. Run is open. Hold it, your guys. In the skin. Oh my God. Don't you stop. Something about you makes me feel like a danger. And about you makes me want to think that I should love it. Nothing to prove it, I'm bulletproofing, know what I'm doing. The way we're moving, like introducing, just doing yourself. I wanna say my said it the later, it stays a flavor, cause I'm a taker, cause I'm a giver, it's only nature, I live the danger. Oh, can't see it. Something about you makes me feel like the danger. And about you. Always wanna be like that. Beggars underneath like that. You know how I'm tired. Beggars underneath like that. You know how I'm feeling inside. Always wanna be like that. Beggars underneath like that. Say what you want, don't With my affections, tell what you need. Oh, there's no direction. Oh, I said, all right. Really, what can you say? I think
Мне надо помочь точно.
Мгм.
Я ее
every day you see things. What I got, what can I do to get through to you? Standing here, that's I did not see. Used to be together, every day together, always. Know the best in believe it looks so young, but if it's real, what I have to do to know sweet to see you instead of they can be fine. Once again, mine, brand new, and sweet time, both you and I, with my head in my hands, and cry. You'll see, I just want to say, stop.
Good evening, dear colleagues. We have a very complex subject today, that people don't want to spend their money. And if you have a good partner, it's much easier. The story itself of investment, from the point of view of interaction of government and business, it existed in ancient Greece and Rome back in the day. So the story of investment goes far back into the ancient times. And the standard variant was a travel, which Christopher Columbus made, and he received 10% of all the goods he was bringing, transporting, and all the resources he was providing from America, North America. We remember the times of the new economic policy. There was a company called Hercules, a company of hooves and horns, and all of us remember Golden Calf, but by Ilf and Petrov, and they were writing about concessions, about division of profit in the town of Skargorod. Now we have institutional investors. There is a whole huge potential of the government, that some sufficient resources. The government have a lot of vacant resources, and today we will hear about what kind of trends are there in the investment. And I would like to give the floor to Kuznetsov Oleg, representing Ingostrach investment sector. Thank you. Greetings, dear colleagues. I will start from far, and I will tell you how we see how private investors see, how they look at the market. I mean, us, people who have vacant resources and they wish to invest them, we have had fund market, and we also had good annual percentage rate for deposits, bank deposits. Now, in June and July, people are removing their money, withdrawing their money, and thinking where to invest further. What kind of opportunities are there for private investors? There are deposits, but with very low profit. There is no market of share, domestic one. There is no access to foreign exchange market. It's quite logical that many people began to look at the real sector of the economy. And that's exactly what my division does. I arrange investments through the so-called private investment. It's just a way of aggregating capital to invest in a single project. Closed investment fund, shared investment fund. That is done because some large companies, they cannot invest directly. In this area, we offer a number of tools for private investors so that they could effectively invest their capital. And the key task of our activity, in our opinion, is to merge the flows of capital and to bring effective investment projects and the flows of capital together. We have two groups of projects. The first one is commercial real estate and development projects. And number two is, using the language of investors, private equity. I mean, the real sector of economy, participating in common companies, which we see all around. This could be hospitals, trolley, bus depots, tram depots. So the shared investment fund, SIF, means that your investments are secure, they are protected. Here you can see main solutions. The first one is individual structured fund. It's just literally a package. You can optimize your taxes. There's also a number of tasks you can tackle. Those of you who are interested, I can send you this presentation, or you can have it from the organizing committee. Rental shared investment fund. You receive liquidity. Let's say you own a trade center. It costs 3 billion, but you cannot sell it. It gives 10% profit, but there are no buyers. There are no consumers. On the other hand, there is a lot of private investors who don't want to invest in deposits, but they would like to own this trade center. But you need a lot of investors, because one private investor doesn't have that amount of money. And we aggregate several hundred or thousand investors. They will own shares, which is in the form of an equity. I think we should mention such funds as development funds. It is also a tool which allows to attract money to investment projects. But they may find themselves in situations where they don't have enough assets. They have their projects on paper, but they cannot launch them. And that's when they come to us. Our qualified investors help them. They can invest their assets at risk. They can give you 20-25% of profit. We are looking at private investors who have 6 million plus rubles. And the last one of our offers is called Real Economy Shared Investment Fund. You can invest in import substitution, scaling up business in cases when businesses cannot attract additional money. They have transparent investment. So people like those which I've mentioned, they can come to us. We can help them. And these are the kind of projects we offer to our investors. As a conclusion to this introductory part, I would like to say that in this area, we're open for a dialogue to the owners of assets, owners of development projects who have a need for financing. Maybe someone who would like to send their assets or equities through, let's say, rental funds. That is why, please resort to us. The organizers have our contacts. We will be happy to continue this dialogue. Speaking about Bashkortostan, I will say the following. We are interested in this region. It's attractive for us. These are not just plain words. We began our dialogue with the government of the Republic already, and after that we analyzed the region and we understood that it is quite attractive, it is quite interesting. It is one of top 5 regions in terms of favorable investment climate and also some other parameters. This is the information. This is the population census. People have quite high income per capita compared to other regions. From the point of view of investments in deposits, bonds, and other papers, and Bashkortostan is quite high in ratings in these aspects already, and so we made a decision to go to Bashkortostan to establish dialogue with the government so that we could implement projects together, local projects in Bashkortostan, and attract local private investors, invest in your own region. So far, I cannot yet show you some of the slides because they contain some sensitive data. But I can say that as of now, we are in a dialogue with some officials at a very high level. And we are planning to come up with the investment fund called My Bashkortostan, My Bashkiria. So investors will be able to invest in companies which are close to you, which you deal with on a daily basis. Thank you, Oleg. Thank you very much. Yes, the Republic and the administration is highly interested in investment. They make huge efforts for that. And in general, for our republic, it is important to increase capitalization. That's one of the pillars which may be implemented through the infrastructural development of territories. And by doing so, we can increase economy activity, behavior of the members of economy, and we can also bring here complex development of territories. You as investor, you have your own goals, and we would like to understand how our republic could possibly integrate into the development of infrastructure as part of your projects. If you have any restrictions associated with the fact that you deal with huge projects, well, I wouldn't talk about some big-scale projects at the initial stage. For infrastructural projects, the scale of 1, 2, or 3 billion rubles, these are not very big budgets. My colleagues who deal with the projects of this kind, they understand what I talk about. The roadmap, the logic is the following. Together with the companies from Bashkortostan, we form a fund. We make some joint project office, which selects and estimates incoming projects. Then we choose companies which have strategic importance and which should be developed, which require development. For us as an investment company, the project should have some economic parameters, including economic stability, also potential to grow profit. The company should be working in the growing market, and for example, a sector of unpiloted flying objects, flying transport, and we've discussed that at one of other sessions, and I like those very much. So we need to attract private investors and do financing of the given projects. The planning scale is about 5 or 7 years. If we compare this in long-term perspective, and we saw one of the graphs, if you put your money on a deposit of 6%, that's not working. But here you can make about 20 or 30%. If you invest in a project with 25% value, you get 150% in 6 years. This is how the complex percent works. The investment is insured, and we are very careful about selecting the companies. Thank you so much, Oleg. Today we have Svetlana Malinskaya. She's a person who is responsible for the block associated with infrastructural development of the Republic, because it increases the immigration activity. People come to Bashkortostan to settle. It improves the quality of business, investment attractiveness. But there are some specifics associated with investment at the regional level. And about Svetlana will tell us about specifics. I give the floor to Svetlana Malinskaya.
I want to pay your attention to the direction that is now is highly supported in a republic. If you take a closer look at the statistics of the 5-year statistics, then for today, our government partnership is almost like 1%. It's more than 40 million rubles of investment. And they are implied in different fields. New mechanisms in creation of the educational places. Since the last year, we have the mechanisms of with the investment from the social and in how housing rates are like, it's it appears, and we find common spots of interaction with each other. So how it's useful and comfortable to use it. It's a long-term investment for the long-term business. And some other business countries, we have business social projects, for example, here and now, like here and now. But when forming the whole policy, it precedes long-term conversations, discussions, and then we discuss the grants. These are different flows, and we try to make a dialogue for the business that allows us, I won't say very rapid or in a short-term high-quality projects, but of course it will attract to the infrastructure that is required for the citizens. So what about our numbers of private partnership is getting developed, and it's not very high. Since the last year we took the 11th place, but in 2021 we took lower place, and we try to establish our position in at least. So we can give you an example. It's like annual processes, like it's already have been done. So we're moving to that project, and we try to spread widely. Now we're taking in participation in the federal programs with the projects that we inquired on a federal level. So all this social structure will be attractive, not only from the point of view of creating your own project, but also the other projects, including the objects in the territory of Republic and so-called 5-minute investors. So what's about our measures of support on the Republican level? We give land, like private project. We use other mechanisms of the attraction of funds, VB and dollars, all different federal documents to realize and development of these documents on the highest level, and we try to implement it very deeply in the Republic. Thank you very much, Svetlana Ivanovna. So the government, private parties have its deep roots, and we would like to know We have different contracts that have been included, and they are set. And when you value the projects, what parameters do you look on first? Well, first of all is the participation of the private investors, and then the schedule for the realization and implementing it to the exploitation. So a must requirement is the implementation of the project, its service, and of course we are highly interested. So the private invests could create the project, and we pay high attention to that. Good, and I would like to determine one thing. We have the territory behind the Ufa and behind the Bela River, and with the help of Dom RF, do you take into account, or you include into that process, does the Republic is included so you can develop new territories? Yeah, via Dom RF, we attract investments for the infrastructure, developing of the infrastructure, to pass all the agreements, and hopefully this year we will be financed, hopefully, and our economists use that information. Cool. I hope that all those territories will be developed with a rapid speed, and not only big infrastructures will appear, and the investors who create the toxic waste cleaning machineries and electricity, or gas providing companies like Gazprom. There are different tools that are suggested by Dom RF, and most prioritized are or have been worked. Will you tell us what is it? So Dom RF gives us a few instruments instead of besides the obligation, but by the structure we also work on the attraction Dom RF for creating the social objects in the Ufa, and I think except we will create some social objects, but all those applications need to be worked out, and the Dom RF system will be used definitely. Thank you very much, Svetlana Ivanovna. Yes, I'll just gonna mention briefly that Dom RF suggests different instruments and tools, and one of them are, for example, giving the warranties to the subjects of the Russian Federation. These are the reserve lines that are supplied, and sometimes even buying the bankrupt bonds. And there's also another financial instrument, subsidiary of the coupon income in the frame of the another bonds. It happens by the compensation through the federal budget. I'm sorry. Excuse me. And I wanted to determine another thing: how much the interaction with the participants of the market is is it a question addressed to me? Cause you're concerned, he said. Let me just explain. The structure itself of agreement, it suggests determination of the risks. The risks like from the private and the other. All the different situation, different conditions, and all those. I would say those issues that are mostly concerns us are not allowing or increasing price for the accommodation on things like first on the initial meeting we met, and of course it's not including the when other party don't face his own duties, and he couldn't do his job well. And I think all the other problems are coming from this one. So I'm sorry, Svetlana Ivanovna is highly worried about our republic, and I want to know more about the reality of the things, of the real things. And when I was preparing today for our meeting, we did the analysis on if on the federal level investor is obliging himself with the financial duties, and includes programs like Oleg Vladimirovich have suggested. It's like investment fund, and etc. But in practice, the work in the frame of the partnership is somehow is not very headed towards regions, and regions had to invest money so some or other project had to be finished, and it's such a overload for the regions, so it can create some specific difficulties for the territory development. So I wanted to discuss what else can Republic do, and its business, or what it can suggest, so that or this region would develop in a good way. And from the platforms that were presented today, there are like your investment consists of 82 billion. Is it true? Good day. Good day. It's even more comfortable like that. Yes, the amount of companies that work in a building field. Probably I'm gonna present myself, and I will divide my speech in two parts. It's the development of the electronical platform, and that is located in St. Petersburg. And after that, I would like to divide my speech into two parts. One for the building companies for today, nowadays, or from the building organizations, and from the electronic platforms. So I'm going to start with the regulated organizations. Is that from today, some of these tools will be useful to you for your own usage, starting with 2020. National Builders Assembly initiated some changes in the law of the Russian Federation, so they could give so they can provide them with agreements. So for today, those agreements were given for the 3.5 billion rubles, and the approximate estimate of the farming cultural is like 35 billion rubles. And what can we do is like, and what conditions are those given under? First of all, is to make a building, to implement it, and secondly, it can be given from its own. We can give from our for our fund not more than 7.5%, but not more that is necessary for the middle age living amount. SRO is like an institution that loves that people have different attitude to it, but it's recommended itself in a good way. Among the investment funds, there are deposits in different funds, and since 2009, it can invest, gives loans to the building companies, construction companies, and its employees. and including the key rates. You know, the mechanism exists, and it exists in the Republic of Bashkortostan. They are given to pay the wages of the materials, bank services and the bank warranties, to provide applications in participation of purchases, everything that is required for the construction companies. And today, everyone start to using that very rapidly. I know it's not very easy because it's organization in the work with the different banks. They getting better to know that system, and they expect to receive some results. And it can be not only under control, but also. So who gets the income? Not the one who makes money, but also who invests in the income will be received by the people and who can use the instruments and tools, not just to find contractors or subcontractors or the people who them used to work with. For example, for many years, companies are purchasing the pipes at the only one place. We have to look the market. So the system of the electronic sales is very sufficient, so you can see how to spend your money wisely. Is it for the loaning or getting money? And for today, our bank working on the system that will allow us to see how the money loan was spent, but up to the point of the last receiver of the money and all the dealers, and up to the point to the last person who screws the driver and who receives the money. That is as important as well. And the other thing is the constant control and spending money on that as well. And they can have like analysis on it. And probably I try to be short, so thank you for this opportunity to give you the speech.
Self-regulated organization is also a mechanism, a tool set, but it's not the only association which develops network society. There was also such a thing called cash pooling, when various companies trusting each other. Now the level of trust, so the companies trusting each other, they were providing each other with vacant money assets to overcome the cash gap, the delayed cash deliverables, and also the participants may also help each other. Can we develop this project as part of within a self-regulating organization? Well, nobody limits you regarding if this could be developed as part of a self-regulating organization. I think so, yes. The level of trust is quite high, and we have 800 construction companies who are members of self-regulating organizations. There are about 500 design and survey companies among them. Regarding how to arrange cooperation, even under the umbrella of partnership, not everyone is ready to trust each other. The self-regulating organization cannot act as a party to the deal. And here we're talking about relations that we have. Probably this kind of tools may exist. And when we talk about companies, I think it's harder to establish relations between them. but I think as part of the association, it's easier. So this kind of umbrella may act as a bank may act as an umbrella where the companies have their settlement accounts, all of your agents, members who entered your self-regulating organization, SRO. You just showed that with the help of STP, you can show expenditures of construction companies, and it may be controlled by loan and credit organizations, how the money is spent. So how do you think, how soon is the time when we will have digital ruble and each spending will have an identification from the point of view of geolocation, some geomark? Have you been thinking of becoming some digital tool, maybe introduce, maybe together with some bank you could implement that? Well, you know that I think banks already do that. I think they can already track money by geography, because they can block some transactions saying that it's conspicuous and that it's suspicious. Well, of course, the system of procurement and spendings, yes, it all depends on the industry, I think. If a certain industry is ready for that, and we as an IT company, we can do a lot. What is important for us is to set a task. In the past 2 years, we have been implementing tasks like that with construction companies, and we keep receiving some requests and wishes of construction companies, and what they get is transparency. They may give us their feedback. For example, they receive some opportunities. For example, they simplified their operations with tax companies. For example, a tax office has questions regarding how a certain contractor was chosen, and this wasn't in their system, which is also important. There are companies which develop their own software, and they have maximum transparency. So digital ruble, I think that's the future, but I think it's a bit far ahead. But speaking briefly about the system itself, we initially, in 2013, we were based on SROs, and we actually were meant for construction companies, for quality control and equipment control. This was meant to show where a certain company works, to track their activities. So back then it wasn't demanded, and we were mainly working with public institutions as our clients. But the procurement grew later, and here we're trying to answer the current products and demands. The market should look what kind of products are demanded. In 2013, the market wasn't ready for digital products, especially in the sphere of procurement. People used SAP, Ariba software. Now the industry is ready. It has a demand. Maybe you mentioned digital ruble. Maybe now the industry is not ready. They are careful. But I think in future there might be such a demand. And people now believe in digitalization. And when accommodation prices went up, people didn't believe that this could happen. But right now, people are ready for that. Now, as an expert, Tinkoff lately bought a service on the identification of salaries, a service which can help to identify salaries of certain categories of people. For example, there are a lot of migrants working. They do transactions, trans-border transactions, and if maybe you will have a service on paying wages directly to the executors, to the contractors. Anything is possible, I think, because those companies we work with, they oblige all of their contractors to provide them with information on salaries already paid, and the taxes not paid, they may go back to them, and for example, VAT. So the companies, our members, they are very strict about this, and if there is a request, there is a service, if we speak, maybe we could have a system through which we could pay salaries. Well, a system of billing is not something complex, just like a management system. What is important is to set a goal and to try to identify the needs the businesses have, because we consider ourselves expert in a certain area, and as part of we have numerous products as part of our big product. And when we implement something for business and for their tasks, we go to some other business, absolutely different scope. Last week I've been to Irkutsk, and I met with some major IT companies, and I presented them with the projects we have in the construction industry, because the initiative shouldn't come from us, but from the community. And it should be originated by the client, business representatives, and we are ready to do that always, because in this case, this will be demanded. And all of our ideas, they are good, and but they may be implemented later. But you can have some cool ideas, but they will not be demanded by business. You've mentioned a subject. Construction industry should have transparent money transactions. Lately, central bank introduced such a system called traffic lights. Oleg, when you give loans to your clients, do you have any blocks for construction companies, any limits? Greetings, colleagues. Oleg Lukin. I think you mean the platform called Know Your Client. And they have a system of marks, yellow, red, and green. It was meant to minimize the risks of clients for blockings of banks on their own, the vision they have. Maybe it's not always right in the opinion of the client. This platform helps to, it's open for everyone, and you can find yourself and see you can see your rating based on, you can try to move a client from red area to yellow or from yellow to green. When we analyze a construction company, we go through all those paths, including security service, the administration of banking operations monitoring, and the probability that a construction company will be blocked, on which a decision is already made. And this probably the payment may go to a different person or entity. And actually, the bank will always help to unblock the client and to make the payments. Which products do you offer nowadays? Actually, it was very interesting to listen to Oleg, Anatoly. Especially, I like the phrase that the fund market of Russia, it doesn't exist rather than exists. I think the reason is what is happening right now, but we believe in our exchange market, and we advocate classic financing, methods. The bank began to finance. We began working with escrow accounts, and as of now, we have five main types of financing. Number one is all of them are used, and the construction company may use all of them. Number one is classics escrow, project-based financing. Number two, also popular, bridge loan, buying rights for a land plot for the construction of trunk utility lines and doing some pre-feed. Then mezzanine loan, cash out for future income, a loan for future profit. It's usually, we use it at quite high degree of completion, and accordingly that we can work together with banks, management companies, buying bonds by a bank. We have examples of that kind. We have cases in Russia when construction companies issue bonds and the bank is ready to participate. Some minor or major part buy them out, the bonds, and it will help to implement financing of the project. But the main advantages are of classic risk financing regarding VTB Bank is that there is no letter of credit type of payments. We don't have hidden commissions or fees. We don't charge additional fees. We have quite competitive edge financing. We have a base percentage rate. Right now it's 8%. This scenario when we had 20%, we have overcome that. Now the exchange rate is quite comfortable. This will influence the mortgage programs with the help of which the construction companies sell their accommodation. We have quite high rate of advance payments to contractors. It's equal to about 20%. Part of the projects like facades, glazing, we may increase the number of advance payments. This is all customer based. This is specific for each client. Well, regarding classics product financing, it's about 15% if it shows good marginality. More and more often we see that you just need to have a land plot. We assess the investment value, and also we may take into account approved target loans. We may also include previous expenses. Well, I need to add here that each project, irrespective of the fact that the government is working, each project is individual. Each project is unique. You have to assess it. There is no unified tool. And each project we included in a database. We prepare a finished product. We listen to recommendations, and usually we set prices. We recount them by quarterly, on a quarterly basis. In 2021, when we saw a huge rise in the prices for metal, steel, structural steel, cement, and concrete, usually we increase budget. We see that the sale price increases. Usually we take those changes. We help construction companies to be in trend and the project to be additionally financed. This is it I was planning to say. Thank you so much. Maybe colleagues, you have questions to Oleg. If not, I will voice my question. Let's think of a situation when the Republic issues green bonds. Which coupon income would you look at when buying them? I think I will not be able to answer, I'm afraid. As I said, we use customized approach. I think it will depend on the market by the moment of issue. And Vitaly said that as of today, deposits at 6% APR, they are not interesting for investors when during half a year people could have an income of 20, 23%, and then going to low income is not very interesting, I'm afraid. And objectively, buying bonds is not interesting for banks. It all depends on the market and the quality of bonds. Well, we need 15, but we don't have that amount. Thank you so much. There is one option which exists with green bonds. If a republic sends, if the republic invests in projects of green agenda, carbon emission agenda, this may increase the income in general of those companies which enter the market with this product. I would like to know your opinion, Oleg, both of you. How interesting could this be for you? And will you be able to somehow embrace coupon subsidies in your portfolios? My colleague Oleg was right, but if I would mention 0.2, if we're talking about deposits, we maybe start from something. 12%, I would say. Speaking about a request from investor, in this case, this could be interesting if we just imagine where one could possibly invest. We have corporate bonds, company bonds. There is a subject. There are some projects with investment income. If we are guided by the fact that we can trust the government, I think this kind of bonds, this kind of products, they have chances for development. I would say that this needs to be discussed. We need to have some joint activity as part of our work. Well, I think Svetlana will be waiting for your support. So you may start your dialogue even today or tomorrow. Well, usually life goes in such a way that we may receive subsidies, we may earn on our final clients who buy real estate, who live on a certain territory, but their financial tool is an opportunity to save. And today, I suggest to listen to the case, how it was built based on concession agreement, Spartak Stadium. It was very interesting. From the point of view of architecture, it was very light, and they built a canopy which weighs almost 8,000 tons of metal, but very thick wall, and a lot of welding was done, and Mosprojekt company did BIM modeling, and they sent it to the system. They provided Kurgan Steelworks with their deliverables in digital format, and they used that in their production process. And the quality of management led to the fact that they could follow the budget and pass through the state review expert board. So today we will listen. Anna Nikolaeva is given the floor to share their experience implementing BIM technologies. company called BIMPRO.
So my name is Nikolai Anna Sergeyevna. It works? Yes. Well, I am the CEO of the BIMPRO. We work more than 10 years, but today we're not going to talk about the projection, but we're going to talk about our experience in implementation and interaction with the constructors. And I would like to thank the speakers. Very interesting topics you have discussed and the systems, but I think that it will be highly good if we bring to the investment path the control after all these projects on the modeling. So briefly, for example, we have the practice on evaluation, the implementation rate of the objects. For example, seaport is a huge object, and another object, Zal complex, accommodation complex. It's in Ufa. It's your constructor's первый трест. And we had them like all over the Russia, and all over the Russia it practices. According to Morskoy port, we have the implementation value of, I'll show you the main figures, is the percentage of from the construction. For the Morskoy port is 1.23%, for the Zal complex is 2.1% on implementation. So according to the information of how much constructor spent this and next year, I made a little diagram showing you the main it's 63%, and it not depends on the value, and these numbers is not that important. And there is we divided by the types of works, and you can see the numbers. That biggest part is it's the informational model, and that's why my speech later will be divided into two parts: is the digitalization of the construction and control, and work with the informational model. So it comes, as I said today, and I will not stop by it, but I will add that for the control, we recommend always to start implementation with the lowest details of, so it would be visually accessible for all the participants and spectators, not only to the higher specialists, but also other people from the banks, administrations, and different ministries. And why the constructor needs BIM? Why constructor needs BIM? We can see a lot of information about that. We can save 10% of the construction. It's mostly British examinations, and in Russian norms, in Russian projects that do not follow those. Our practice experience, there is experience of digitalization that is connected with the modeling and project audit, which allows us to evaluate the quality of the projects, working with the usual engineers. So what we did, we prepared the ready-to-go documents, and we showed the mistakes that engineers did, architecture, the person who makes the project, and volume of the material that is required, and we try to avoid all the mistakes. Here, oh, sorry, switch that accidentally. Okay, sorry. Okay, here we go. You can see that there was 3,273 mistakes in this. There are some crucial and some are not, but those mistakes they will just make the construction schedule longer process. And here for the Жилой complex, more than 35 billion rubles have been saved. It's we didn't start the control on the construction, but we already have such a good result. And according to the specifications, here's the examples. There were more than 13 million rubles spent for the materials that weren't mentioned in the document, and that almost 600 square meters of the glass that haven't been used, and it's later will be pop up, and so we have to find and exclude all any mistakes that can appear during the construction. And 98% is the quality of the work. And what about the digitalization on the construction? When we were modeling the object, we created the informational copy of the building, which was the basis for the automized uploading of the complex. We worked it in two ways. The first one in actualization, the informational model and BIM, and the other one was the digital tool, and that could help us to calculate the money. Here's the short diagram on the model of the BIM, and if we see something wrong on the project, we tried to make our corrections on it. And you can see that in comparison, the income of that process and the saving of this process is quadruple. So what happened during the recalculation of the prices for the instrument and management, making the schedule of the work? So 4% of from the value of the construction was saved, and those numbers were pretty the same. But it's so, as we understood, it's as important as working with any other tool. So here another valuation of efficiency. First one is the smallest, when we just excluded. The second one is when we use the digital management, and we may not use BIM technology at all. The third one is when we use the digital management plus BIM. 4 is making a model from the beginning of the projecting. So in all, economical efficiency is really high. So I would like also to note that now in Moscow, it's highly discussed by the association decreasing the rate by 2-3%, so the constructor can refund his sources for the first stage of the work, because it's pretty big. And how we talked about the process, about creating the first of the model. Now for the constructors, it's really a bit hard, because besides all of the other things, it's really scary for them to change the project maker. And there are also some disadvantages of BIM, and we like to consider that when we have the 2D documentation, because when we can take usual documentation, model it in the BIM, and evaluate all the risks, and we're ready to codificate the adequate values and volumes of the material, the price for the material, and we receive the whole price sheet. And during the implementation, the constructor can keep all his work before, because it's just implementation does not cost anything, and the implementation allows them to see how efficient it is and effective. So the second part is the construction management. We created a model, and then after, on our experience, is one of the biggest companies and the best companies called Adept. They created model. So there is no in the presentation, but the software allows to include all the processes of the from creating the accommodations, banks, schedules, deadlines, contracts, everything, and you can give it a level of access. And what happens next? We upload the projects. We form the price, the value, and we do the graphics of the schedule for the work, and the resources that also have the allows us to control everything. And the program also allows us to manage the schedule, 4D, 5D planning, or based on the model, and all the information is stored inside and doesn't go anywhere. So in the program, constructor, in his usual format, without any hard tables, he can type in all the data he wants at any time. Any party of the construction can make some corrections, and so after that the executional model can be passed for the further construction. Probably that's it. When we are cheering for the regional projects so they can create. I'm sorry. Yes, probably possible to create informational model separately of the separate objects, the whole infrastructures, buildings, informational models that is used when building cities, towns, and investment risk, and work with not high detailization. So all those questions that were mentioned before could be researched right there. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. We know that products. We also presented that projects to the Minister of Accommodation, Ufa. We took that depth and did our Bashkir project there, called Bashkirsky Dvoriki. Ministry of Transport also was included, but we just tried it. But now we have the company was built that, but all that need to be implemented and integrated into work. But I have a question for Svetlana Ivanovna. If you are ready, for example, when you be making a deal, state-private contracts, will you include the investors in so they would provide BIM model? So, and you would present there as the head player during the conference expenses of the state. First of all, I would like to say our model state partnership takes into consideration 2 points of view, private and the social. The one that we're required to build through the public. We probably definitely will implement the projects for the whole your platform, the whole project. I think we can try that not only publicly, but in privately. And I'd say I'm on the, probably I would say that I'm on the side of investor. I would like to pay your attention that if we're bringing up the question of the complex development of territory, and from the last stage of process that we conducted with the participation of the, we understand that any general management on the territory, we can oblige to the private partners, it including the social structures, flow structures. That's the scheme of the work and development of the territory can be packed through the state-private and the approach of forming the model itself and the structure of investment. It's in complex. It can be united to the one big project. So yes, it can be united in one big project, and we can try that on the state-private property model. Thank you very much. Maybe we can discuss that later. You'll give us your point of view. And what about not only me, but I think the other representatives of the loans in all those flows that investors can use for the social objects. We are already, that's why we are making a speech as a coordinators on the different directions. Or, for example, representing the Ministry of Finance. That's why here in Republic, we are the coordinators. We try to find one approach, the only approach, and what questions can we ask, and how we can coordinate our work. You are welcome for the cooperation, and I'm sure we can continue our story as we want it. And we can now discuss the investments and finance and the inquiries that are of the we can talk about the qualified and unqualified investors forming the transparent business. Anyway, our story is that we will determine our country as open between all the participants, because we have a really huge rate of trust, level of trust. And I would like talk not only about new instrument, but already existing instrument. And for example, like mechanisms of delayed payments. The points of it is the following. Company invests some territory, any territory, and that territory appears to be having the status tax-free status from what it used to be. So after it can be compensated. So on this highly good note, I would like to thank our participants. So they thank you for finding time in your busy schedule, and we're addressing documents of the Republic. And I would like to say this session should not come to an end. It has to be continued. And I would like you to participate. If any of you are interested, we are always available for the new initiations, for new ideas. So thank you very much. And thank you for this such a great session. We may thank each other.
Совсем. Нормально.